What would your life look like if you stopped caring what other people thought of you? Really think about that. If you stopped checking your reflection in the eyes of others, if you no longer adjusted who you are based on who was watching, if you could wake up, live your day, speak your truth, chase your goals, without the constant background noise of judgment, approval, comparison, or praise. For most people, that sounds impossible. Because whether we admit it or not, we've all been conditioned to live on a kind of invisible stage. From childhood, we're trained to look outside ourselves for permission, for validation, for worth. What will they think? Do they like me? Am I good enough in their eyes? So we edit ourselves. We play roles. We bend our backs to fit into expectations that don't even belong to us. And the cost of that is enormous. You lose time trying to win crowds who never think about you when you're not in the room. You lose energy replaying conversations that no one else even remembers. You lose yourself, little by little, when you measure your worth by how others react. That's where the Stoics come in. The Stoics saw this trap 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, surrounded by politics and praise and betrayal, wrote this to himself: "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." He saw what we often don't, that freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to live without being ruled by the opinions of others. It's the power to walk your own path without asking for permission. It's the clarity to know who you are so deeply that external judgment becomes irrelevant. You see, Stoicism isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's not about building walls. It's about becoming so grounded in your values, in your mission, in your reason, that no outside voice can shake your foundation. You don't reject feedback. You just stop letting it own you. You don't ignore the world. You just stop serving it with your identity. And that's what this video is about. It's about reclaiming your mind, reclaiming your energy, reclaiming the peace that's been slowly eaten away by the approval of strangers and the fear of being misunderstood. We're going to look at why we crave approval in the first place, why it's so hard to let go, what Stoic thinkers taught about fame, criticism, and praise, how to respond when people judge you, how to live from your own compass instead of being pulled by every opinion you encounter. Because your journey is yours, and the moment you stop trying to make it make sense to people who were never meant to understand it, you step into something rare, something unshakable. So if you're tired of trying to be liked, tired of performing, tired of chasing approval that never fills you, this is your moment. Not to become someone else, but to finally return to yourself. This is about learning how to focus on your own journey, not just as a motivational phrase, but as a lived philosophy. Let's begin. Let's start with something uncomfortable but honest. We all care what people think, even if you say you don't, even if you try to hide it behind confidence or sarcasm or rebellion. At some point, you've shaped your behavior, your choices, your words, because of someone else's opinion. It's part of being human. And the Stoics understood that. They didn't shame people for caring. They just challenged you to ask why. Why does this opinion matter to me? Why am I bending for this person? Why does their approval feel like oxygen? What am I afraid will happen if they disapprove? From a survival standpoint, the need for approval makes sense. Thousands of years ago, if your tribe rejected you, you didn't just feel bad, you died. Rejection meant exile. It meant vulnerability. So our brains learned to associate approval with safety. Belonging wasn't a luxury, it was a matter of life and death. But we're not living in a cave anymore. You don't need every person around you to like you. You don't need to shape your identity around public applause. You don't need to dilute your truth to avoid disapproval. And yet we do, because we've never been taught how to break that pattern. That's where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism trains you to separate what's natural from what's necessary. It acknowledges that we will care, but it asks us to decide which opinions actually matter. It teaches you to shrink the audience in your mind, to live for something deeper than applause, to care more about your own approval than the ever-shifting opinions of the crowd. Marcus Aurelius wrestled with this constantly. As emperor, he was seen, judged, and scrutinized every day. And yet he wrote over and over about returning to what is his, about retreating inward, about focusing on what he can control, his thoughts, his choices, his actions, not the stories others wrote about him. Epictetus was even more blunt. He said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let that land, be content." Not just willing, not just able, but content to be misunderstood, underestimated, criticized. Why? Because freedom lives on the other side of that fear. The truth is, we can't eliminate the human desire for connection, but we can direct it. You can train your mind to seek connection through shared values, not shallow approval. Through honest relationships, not surface validation. Through respect for your own principles, not through applause for your performance. And it starts with understanding that most people's opinions aren't even about you. Which brings us into the next truth, the nature of opinion itself. Have you ever noticed how easily people form opinions about things they don't understand? How quickly they jump to conclusions based on fragments, assumptions, rumors, or projections? The Stoics warned us about this. They taught that other people's judgments are not reflections of truth, they are reflections of themselves. When someone criticizes you, they are often revealing more about their values, their insecurities, their expectations than they are about your reality. Epictetus said, "When someone criticizes you, if it's true, correct it. If it's false, ignore it." That's the logic. That's the clarity. But most of us don't live that way. We internalize everything. We hand our self-worth to strangers without even checking if they're qualified to hold it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people form opinions quickly and forget them just as fast. He wrote, "You are not compelled to form an opinion. That's true for you about others, and it's true for them about you. Opinions come and go. They shift with time, mood, and perspective. So why would you build your identity on something so unstable?" The Stoic approach is to create a gap between what is said and what you accept. Just because someone thinks something doesn't mean it enters your truth. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what gets in. This doesn't mean you become arrogant. It means you become discerning. You don't ignore all feedback. You just stop giving every opinion equal weight. You start asking, is this coming from someone who lives with integrity? Do they understand my journey? Do they live by the values I respect? Most of the time, you'll find that the loudest opinions come from the least informed. And when you can see that clearly, you begin to care less, not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've opened your eyes. Other people's opinions are just noise, unless you give them meaning. The Stoics teach us to stay grounded in what is ours, our reason, our values, our actions. The rest? It's just wind. And wind can't move you if your roots are deep. Let's talk about the real cost of living for approval. Because it's not free. Every time you adjust yourself to please others, every time you swallow your truth to avoid being judged, every time you chase applause and call it confidence, you pay a price. And most people don't even realize how much they're giving away until it's too late. The cost is your peace, your clarity, your authenticity, your energy. The more you live for other people's approval, the less you hear your own voice. You become a shapeshifter. You say what they want to hear, not what you really mean. You post what gets likes, not what reflects your truth. You take the safe path, not the meaningful one. And you tell yourself it's smart, it's strategic, but deep down you know it's hollow. Seneca said, "If you live according to the judgment of others, you will always be a slave." That's harsh, but it's accurate. When you need approval to feel worthy, you hand your freedom to the crowd. You're not living, you're performing, and the worst part, the crowd doesn't even know you. They don't carry your burdens, they don't understand your values, they don't walk your path, and yet we let them become our judge and jury. The Stoics saw the danger of this early. They lived in societies where reputation mattered deeply, just like ours. But they chose to live differently. They chose to live by principle instead of popularity. They chose to measure success not by how they were seen, but by how they lived. The problem with chasing approval is that it never ends. Today they admire you, tomorrow they turn. Today they clap, tomorrow they criticize. If you build your identity on their applause, you will break when the silence comes. Because it always comes. There's also the exhaustion. Pretending to be someone else is draining. Constantly scanning for approval, trying to stay liked, tiptoeing around disapproval. It's a full-time job. And at the end of the day, even if they like the version of you you've created, it doesn't feel good because it's not really you. It's a mask. And behind the mask, you know the truth. You're tired, you're lost, and you don't feel seen. So what's the alternative? You live by your own compass. You define your own values. You stop asking if they'll approve and start asking if it's right. You let your decisions be guided by reason, not reaction. You choose integrity over impression, and that's not always easy. But it's always free. And that brings us to the heart of Stoic practice, the shift from external to internal. From being ruled by what others think to being led by what you know. That's where peace lives. That's where freedom begins, which leads us right into the next truth, the difference between the outer world and your inner judge. Because here's the secret no one teaches you. The most important opinion is the one you hold of yourself. Not because you're perfect, not because your judgment is infallible, but because it's the only one you live with every single day. The Stoics called this your inner citadel. It's the mental and moral space inside you that can't be touched by the world unless you open the gate. It's the place where your conscience lives, your reason, your values. And your job, your only job, is to stay loyal to that space, to guard it, to return to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The approval of 10,000 men is nothing if I do not approve of myself." That's not ego, that's clarity. He understood that true confidence doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being aligned. When you live from the inside out, you start to measure your actions differently. Instead of asking, will they like this? You ask, is this right? Instead of wondering, do I fit in? You ask, am I being honest? And slowly, the fear of judgment fades. Not because you don't hear it, but because it doesn't reach the part of you that matters. That doesn't mean you become rigid or close-minded. Stoicism isn't about ignoring others, it's about listening with discernment. You welcome feedback, you consider advice, but you filter it through your principles, not your insecurity. You remain open without being owned. And this kind of self-trust takes practice, it takes quiet, it takes reflection. The Stoics journaled daily, not to document their lives, but to align with their values. They asked hard questions. Where did I act from fear today? Where did I compromise my truth? Where did I live by reason? That's how you build the inner judge. You train it, you sharpen it. You build a relationship with your own mind so that when the world gets loud, you have somewhere to return. Because here's what no one tells you. If you don't trust your own judgment, you'll always be at the mercy of someone else's, and that's a prison, not a life. So practice listening to yourself. Practice saying no without guilt. Practice walking away without explanation. Practice doing what's right even when no one claps, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. That's the Stoic path. That's the way of freedom, and the more you walk it, the less you'll need approval. Not because you don't care, but because you've finally learned what really matters. Let's talk about criticism. No one likes it. Even when it's true, even when it's constructive, it still hits something raw in us. That flash of defensiveness, that tightening in your chest, that instinct to explain or push back or shut down, it's almost automatic. But the Stoics offer us a different way to deal with it. A way to take criticism and turn it into fuel, not fire. Epictetus said, "If someone criticizes you and it's true, thank them. If it's false, ignore them." It sounds simple. But it's one of the hardest things to practice because our ego wants to be right, it wants to be seen a certain way. So even a small criticism can feel like an attack on our identity. But here's what the Stoics would remind you. Your identity isn't what people say about you. It's how you choose to respond. When someone says something critical, stop before you react. Ask yourself, is this true? If it is, even partially, take it. Use it, grow from it. No one is above correction. No one is too wise to be sharpened. Even Marcus Aurelius, the ruler of an empire, reminded himself to remain humble, to be open to being wrong. If he could do it, so can you. But what if it's not true? What if it's petty or spiteful or misinformed? Then your job is to let it pass. Not to argue, not to prove them wrong, to let it float by like wind brushing against stone. Because responding to every insult only validates it. It hands your power to the person who spoke it. The Stoics practiced what we could call emotional Aikido. They didn't meet force with force. They met it with clarity, calm, control. Someone insults you. You ask yourself, does this change my nature? No. Then move on. Someone misjudges your intention. You remind yourself, I answer to my own conscience. That's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional. Responding is rational. And here's the deeper shift. Instead of seeing criticism as an attack, you start seeing it as a test. Can you stay centered when misunderstood? Can you hold your values when they're questioned? Can you remain kind when others are not? That's strength. That's power. That's stoic composure in action. This isn't about being passive. If something needs to be addressed, you do it with dignity. You speak clearly, without heat. You don't gossip. You don't retaliate. You show who you are, not by what you say, but by how you behave under pressure. People might not remember your words, but they'll remember how you carried yourself when things got uncomfortable. And the more you practice this, the less criticism controls you. It becomes background noise. Sometimes useful, sometimes not, but never defining. Because you've shifted your focus from controlling how others see you to controlling how you show up. That's what Stoicism is about. Mastering the only thing that's ever truly yours, your own mind. Now let's turn the mirror the other way. If you've been trapped by criticism, chances are you've also been captured by praise. And this might surprise you, but praise can be just as dangerous. Maybe even more. Praise feels good, of course it does. We're wired to enjoy it. It validates us, it boosts our confidence. It makes us feel seen. But here's the problem. When you start depending on it, you start performing for it, you start chasing it. You start becoming the person people want to praise instead of the person you're truly called to be. And that's where you lose yourself. The Stoics warned against this constantly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is praise but a passing breath?" He reminded himself that the people who cheer for you today will forget your name tomorrow. And even if they don't, their praise doesn't make you better, just like their criticism doesn't make you worse. You are who you are, not because of what people say, but because of how you live. Praise becomes a trap when it shapes your behavior. When you choose the more popular path instead of the right one. When you start saying what people want to hear instead of what needs to be said. When your sense of worth rises and falls based on how loudly others applaud. And here's where it gets dangerous. When you become addicted to praise, criticism doesn't just hurt, it breaks you. Because your identity has become attached to being liked, being admired, being seen as successful. So the moment someone doesn't approve, you feel like you're failing. The Stoics teach us to aim higher, to live in such a way that praise feels nice, but it's never needed. That you can accept it without clinging to it, that you can smile at it without chasing it, because your purpose is internal. Your standard is internal. Your compass is not spinning with every compliment, it's fixed. Seneca said, "A wise man is content with his own approval." That's the goal. To reach the point where you know what you're doing is good, just, honest, and that's enough. Whether the crowd cheers or turns away, you keep walking. Not because you're cold, but because you're free. This is what makes someone powerful. Not the roar of the crowd, but the quiet of knowing they didn't have to change for it. That they could be respected without being controlled, admired without being owned, praised without becoming dependent. So let the praise come and go. Enjoy it if it's given. Learn from it if it's meaningful. But never need it. Never bend for it. You're not here to impress. You're here to live with intention. To live in alignment. And the moment you stop performing for approval is the moment you step into your real life. The one that doesn't rise and fall with other people's reactions. The one that's yours, completely. Let's talk about the beauty of staying in your own lane. Really living your own journey, not just as a concept or a motivational line on a poster, but as a daily, grounded, intentional way of moving through life. Because once you understand that your path is yours alone, you stop looking sideways and you begin to walk forward with peace. The Stoics were clear about this. You were not made to live someone else's life. You were made for your own mission, your own rhythm, your own timeline. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the rocky headland against which the waves constantly break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the sea." He didn't say, be like the wave. He didn't say, try to swim in every direction. He said, be the rock. Be still, be rooted, be firm in your place. Most of our stress doesn't come from failure. It comes from comparison. We look at someone else's pace and feel behind. We see someone else's success and feel small. We let their choices make us doubt our own. But the truth is, their life has nothing to do with yours. Their praise, their criticism, their opinion, it can't build or destroy the life you're meant to live. Only your decisions can do that. Think about it. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. It wasn't assigned to them. They don't carry your memories. They don't feel your convictions. They don't hear what you're called to. And that's not their fault. It's not even yours. It's just reality. So why keep wasting energy trying to make them approve of something they were never meant to understand? Focus on your own path. When you feel pulled to compare, stop and return to what's yours. What do I value? What am I building? What am I proud of in my process? And if you're not proud, what needs to change? Not to catch up with them, but to come home to yourself. There's no timeline you're supposed to follow except your own. There's no spotlight you need to chase. The goal is not to be seen, it's to be true. And the moment you stop racing to keep up is the moment you start moving with real purpose, because your path becomes clearer when you're not distracted by everyone else's. The noise fades, the need for approval weakens, and what's left is something deeper: self-trust, clarity, peace. That's what focusing on your own journey gives you. Now let's talk about how to actually train your mind for that. Because it's one thing to understand all this, it's another thing to live it, especially in a world that screams for your attention every waking second. So how do you stay rooted in your lane, detached from opinion, grounded in your own values? The Stoics had a system. They didn't just talk about virtue and discipline, they practiced it. They trained for it. Every single day. And one of their greatest tools was ritual. Morning and evening they took time to reflect, to prepare, to reset. And that's where your transformation begins too. Start your day with intention. Before the world pulls at your thoughts, before the notifications flood in, before the opinions start pressing down, take 5 minutes to anchor yourself. Remind yourself of what matters. This is my journey. This is what I value. This is who I want to be today. Not for them, not for attention. For me. Use simple affirmations. Repeat them. Write them. Let them echo. I do not need their praise to feel peace. I do not fear their judgment. I answer only to what is right. These are not empty words. They're mental armor. And like armor, they work only if you put them on before the battle begins. Then at the end of your day, reflect. Review your actions. Where did I stay true to myself? Where did I bend for the crowd? Where did I choose clarity over chaos? This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. The more you see your patterns, the more power you have to change them. Another practice is silence. Stillness. In a noisy world, one of the boldest things you can do is pause, not scroll. Not respond, just sit, just breathe. Let your thoughts settle, let the chaos fade. That's where your real voice lives. Not in the opinions, not in the algorithms, in the quiet. Also, keep a journal, not for show, for honesty. For clarity, use it to write what you fear, what you're tempted by, what you're learning. The Stoics didn't journal to impress. They journaled to return to truth, to see themselves clearly, to stay in alignment when the world tried to pull them in 100 directions. And when you feel tempted to fall back into people-pleasing, pause and ask yourself, who am I doing this for? Would I still do this if no one clapped? If the answer is no, it's not your path. It's a performance. Let it go. This is how you train detachment. Not by becoming cold, but by becoming clear. Not by rejecting others, but by returning to yourself over and over. That's what discipline really is, coming back to what matters, no matter how far you've drifted. And when you do that, when you practice daily alignment, you don't just feel more peace, you become it. You stop reacting. You stop chasing, you start living. And that's what makes your journey not just meaningful, but unshakable. Now let's talk about what happens when you start living aligned, not perfect, not above criticism. Just aligned. When your thoughts, your values, your actions start matching up, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've decided to finally live from truth instead of performance. That kind of alignment changes everything. It doesn't make life easier, but it makes it cleaner. You stop waking up with that heavy feeling in your chest, wondering if you're being fake, wondering if you're doing enough to stay liked. You stop rehearsing conversations before you have them and replaying them after they're done. You stop wondering, what will they think, and start asking, what's the right thing to do? And here's the beautiful part. When you stop living for the opinions of others, you stop being afraid of them. Their praise doesn't inflate you. Their criticism doesn't crush you. You hear it, you weigh it, but it doesn't define you. Because you've already defined yourself. The Stoics believed that the goal of life wasn't to be admired, it was to live well. To live with courage, wisdom, justice, temperance. That's what they measured themselves by. Not likes, not applause, but integrity. And that's why their words still echo thousands of years later. They lived by a code deeper than culture. And they didn't need to be popular to be powerful. You start living aligned the moment you stop chasing approval and start practicing values. You stop trying to be everything to everyone and start trying to be consistent with yourself. You stop saying yes when your soul says no. You stop doing things that go against your conscience, even if they're profitable. You start telling the truth, not because it's easy, but because it's clean. When you're aligned, you sleep better, you walk lighter, you speak clearer. People might not always like you, but they'll respect you, and more importantly, you'll respect yourself. You'll look in the mirror and see someone you actually admire. That's the kind of success that lasts. Because here's what no one tells you. The most successful people are not the ones who have the most followers. They're the ones who are the most free. The ones who could lose everything outside and still stand strong inside. That's what the Stoics aimed for. And that's what's available to you if you're willing to stop performing and start living. It's not easy, but it's simple. Be who you say you are. Do what you know is right. Let go of the rest. Now, before we close, I want to challenge you. Not with something impossible, just with a commitment. For the next 30 days, stop performing. Just for 30 days, start every morning by checking in with yourself, not your followers. Not your inbox, yourself. What matters to me today? What virtue do I want to practice? Who do I want to be, regardless of how people react? Then live that day in alignment with your answer. One day at a time, no performance, just presence. Just principle, just practice. And at the end of each day, ask yourself, did I live from approval or from values? Did I trade my peace for applause? Did I let fear of opinions steer my actions? Or did I stay in my lane, do my work, and let the noise pass? You won't be perfect, that's not the point. The point is presence, awareness, ownership. And by the end of those 30 days, you'll start to feel something shift. The opinions won't sting like they used to. The praise won't hook you the same way. You'll feel steadier, clearer, stronger, not because the world got quieter, but because your mind did. That's the Stoic way. Not to block the world out, but to face it head-on with reason, with courage, with integrity. To walk through criticism without losing yourself. To hear praise without needing more. To look inside, not outside, for your definition of a good life. Because at the end of your journey, you'll look back, not at the people who clapped or booed, but at the person you became, the path you walked, the strength you built in silence. And that, more than any opinion, is what will matter. So live well, walk with clarity. And remember, the freedom you seek will never come from being understood by everyone. It comes from understanding yourself deeply and courageously and having the guts to walk your path anyway.